And good to have you back on Yankees Baseball Daily. Let's talk about the Yankees and what's left before spring training. One thing that is not is too little starting pitching and having to go out and find some after what Brian Cashman accomplished last Friday.
Right, Brian Cashman able to make the deal that gets Pineda here for Montero. Now, that deal is not official yet, Bob, because of physicals. That's what we're waiting on. It's logistical. So any Yankee fans who are worried why this hasn't happened yet, it simply is a matter of logistics. And you could say the same thing about Kuroda, the free agent signing for between 10 and 11 million. It's another physical situation, so those deals will be announced eventually. The Yankees aren't saying when. It's why you haven't heard any public comments from Brian Cashman about them. But yes, in one swoop on that night, he dramatically improved their rotation.
All right, so obviously starting pitching not a concern. I just want to get a quick thought from you, Bob, because this deal happened last week when you weren't here, and the thought that you gave up that big bat for Montero, but you're getting a big arm in return.
Oh, I like this deal a lot. I like both acquisitions a lot. I think it sets the Yankees apart from the Red Sox and the Rays. Not by a lot. I think it's going to be a dogfight all summer. But before the trade, I thought it was a three-way dead heat and a pick 'em really by October. But I now think the Yankees are about 3 or 4 games better than the Red Sox and Tampa Bay. I now pick them to win the division.
You don't have to give up any of those big. Well, you gave up Noesi, but you don't have to give up too many big arms. The Banuelos, the Betances, they're still there and they're ready to go. Maybe not this year, but next.
They're still there, but I think Noesi is kind of the steal of this trade for the Mariners. I mean, I think he's going to be a solid guy. We saw what he did out of the bullpen for the Yankees. They were thinking about him from the rotation this year. I think Seattle's going to be very pleasantly surprised with him. But, guys, I keep thinking back to Phil Hughes. What's going through his mind right now? Working out, getting ready for spring training. He's not guaranteed a job in the rotation, coming off a bad year. He's really got to show up in spring training and earn a job.
You know, we've talked about this, the fact that 2 years ago, when he was not guaranteed a job and became an 18-game winner, he seemed to rise to that challenge.
Right. I think Phil Hughes has to go to spring training and not feel sorry for himself. And the fact that there is more competition, Hughes now has to step up and show the Yankees, who is he? Is he the guy who won 18 games and went out there with a swagger and said, you know what, I'm going to throw fastballs here and get guys out? He wasn't that guy last year. Some of it was fatigue. Didn't have the velocity on the fastball. And when you talk about spring training, I mean, Alex Rodriguez is a guy we're always going to watch. But I think A.J. Burnett and Phil Hughes, if Brian Cashman doesn't make a trade, these are two of the guys we're going to watch as much as anybody this spring.
I happen to agree with Jack. I mean, Hughes and Burnett are the guys on the spot. And I think one of the things that Cashman's going to be doing in the next couple of weeks is exploring the market, see if he can make a trade for Burnett. I don't think he's going to be successful, not with $33 million owed to him through 2013. But the Yankees do have a surplus there. And one of the ways they could alleviate that is by trading Burnett. Absent of that, I think Burnett is the one who's going to get the first crack at that 5th spot. The Yankees really want him out there, increase his trade value. But Phil Hughes, to me, has the greatest upside and the greatest possibility of just crashing and burning.
Yeah. But if Burnett is #1 in line and it's Phil Hughes is maybe the second option or he goes to the bullpen, what does that do in terms of setting back his development? Or is that a good thing?
You know what? You never know. He might turn out to be one of these pieces in the bullpen like he was dominant a few years ago. But, you know, like Jack said, you have to find out who he is. Is he a starting pitcher long-term, or do you make this transition? You're a bullpen guy from here on out, or is he possible to be traded? Goes in and has a good spring, and I think most importantly comes into camp in shape. I think we all know he wasn't in shape last year in camp.
Last week we talked about the fact that the bullpen's pretty much set, even without Jabba Chamberlain. A lot of good options out there at the backside of the bullpen. In the meantime, let's talk about what's left for them, Jack, in terms of filling out the bench or maybe a bullpen spot.
Right. We've heard a lot of talk about DH, and in talking to people around the Yankees, right now that's not even on their radar. They had to stretch the budget to go and get this Kuroda signing that is still pending. And now Brian Cashman might do exactly what Bob said. He has some pieces to play with. Whether it's a Hughes or a Burnett, he might be able to use one of those guys to go get a hitter and fill that need at DH. Bench player Eric Chavez is still in play. The Yankees have had communication with Eric Chavez, but he's also talking to other teams. And I think what Brian Cashman has said to him is, stay in touch with us. This is where we are with our budget. But I don't think for bench pieces they have a lot of money to move.
It's an alien thought, isn't it, Jack, the idea that the Yankees are actually tapped out. But Brian Cashman had to go for special permission to get the extra $10 million for Kuroda. He had to wait until Hal Steinbrenner said, okay, you can have that money, like a kid asking for extra allowance. So, you know, for the extra $2 or $3 million maybe to go out and get a Johnny Damon or Vlad Guerrero, it's not the way it used to be. It's not so easy anymore. Cashman, again, has to go ask can I expand the budget one more time? And that's not a definite right now.
And you could go into camp here, Flash, thinking that if we don't go out and sign somebody, maybe we add different pieces or somebody from the minors, you might be okay because you're going to have to split that time with the veterans at DH that are on the team.
Brian Cashman is in a perfect spot right now. He can sit back and let all these veteran DH types kind of come to him, lower the price, maybe somebody falls into his lap. If not, Alex Rodriguez will get some DH at-bats. Derek Jeter, same thing. So I think this lineup that you talk about for the Yankees, scoring runs is probably not going to be an issue to go sign another guy to be your designated hitter. Brian Cashman can kind of chill out and wait and see what happens.
Right. If you look at Alex Rodriguez, the Yankees need to keep his bat in the lineup as much as possible. He played 99 games last year, so I've got to believe, I don't know what the number is, whether it's 20, 30, or 40, he's got to have a lot of DH games. So already you're biting into that DH total. Andrew Jones is a guy who you want to give some DH numbers to. We see what Alex did last year. Not a 30-100 season, which is what we're accustomed to. So even as Cashman is looking for that DH type, he knows that between Jeter, Teixeira, A-Rod, he's got to give these guys some days off. So you're not going to get a guy who, like Montero, would have been projected, is going to get 500 at-bats as a DH.
And it's really interesting because there are guys in that lineup you looked at could have had better seasons. Alex, obviously, numbers-wise, Bob. Derek Jeter had a great second half, slow first half. So if these guys play to the numbers on their baseball cards, we always hear that. I mean, this offense could be gangbusters.
It is a monster offense. Remember, they were #2 in the American League last year. Without really Alex having a great year, with Teixeira almost invisible from the right side, I mean, they're capable of great things now. And with the extra pitching that we're talking about that they have now in the starting rotation, I do think that they're the favorites to win the division. But the Yankees still think that Alex has one more monster year left in him. Maybe. We'll see. But for him to do that, he's got to get plenty of rest. He's got to take a lot of those DH at-bats.
You know, Bob mentions Mark Teixeira. I mean, this guy has got to come back. He's got to have a rebound year this year. And you wonder what Kevin Long, the hitting instructor, can do with him, especially from the right side. I think Mark last year, the way the year went, you went to the playoffs. I mean, his numbers weren't where we're used to having them. Expect him to rebound a little bit.